There we go. We're live, Ann.
Okay, mine doesn't say live, but hello, everyone. What is the connection between food and pain? Today, we're approaching this from really a whole different angle. Is it food that's the problem, or is it the way that we think about food?
So I'm going to challenge all your thoughts around this today, including many physicians and medical healthcare providers out there. I think that the way we approach food and pain needs to be turned upside down. Okay. And the answer is going to be coming up. But more importantly, I decided today that I need to get a really stiff drink. And today, my stiff drink is right here. What is in Dr. Maggie's elixir today? The answer will be coming up. Here we go.
What's in that stiff drink? Don't we want to know?
I literally showed up and I'm sitting here. I was like, Anne, I need a stiff drink today.
I know. When you hear stiff drink, most of us are thinking, oh my gosh, what is she doing? Is some kind of alcohol on the rocks? No. Your idea of stiff drink is a healthy stiff drink, something that's going to nourish the body, the mind, the soul.
It's funny. It's going to be the thumbnail for this video later. I'm going to be like, all right, everybody. I would love for you guys to guess. This is if what do you guys think is in this drink, right? I made a drink because this afternoon I was like, I was feeling my energy and my blood sugar starting to come down. And I am having some pain in my hand, a little bit of neuropathy in my hand today. So I decided to make a very stiff drink. And I love putting something like this into a wine glass because you know what? It is actually the biggest goblet that I have in this house. And did you know that you could actually fit an entire bottle of wine in one of these large red wine glasses?
We do now.
So I made like a 16-ounce smoothie, my elixir, and I put it right in this glass. And if we do you see a little bit of the ombre effect? How many of you guys like ombre nails and ombre?
When ombre hair used to be the thing, and now she's got the ombre drink. But now you have to do it like the influencers do, would put your hand behind it so
What?
So it doesn't get blurry when you hold it up. You know?
Oh my God, it's getting blurry. That's right. Oh my God, influencer. All right. So I just before we get started, I will tell you what is in my green elixir, my magical happy hour green elixir that's happening right now. I would love for all of you guys that are watching right now to type in chat if you're an alumni of any of our programs. Love my greens, Jill. You're right. Oh, people can guess what's in this. Oh my gosh. Okay, it's not the only ingredient in this. There's besides love my greens, there's other things in here. Okay, so there's other things. Matcha green tea, like it's like Joe knows me. How do all these people know? Yes, there's love my greens in here. Okay, there's one scoop of love my greens in here. There is about 3/4 of a teaspoon of a matcha powder. That's an organic matcha powder, right? There's something else. There's something else.
Secret ingredients
That's making this kind of creamy, foamy, and thick.
Oh, there's a clue with creamy. Okay. And this is so appropriate, Dr. Maggie, because today it really is all about, we're talking about food, the connection between pain and food.
Yeah.
And you want to flip this whole thing on its head.
I really do. Last week, if you guys didn't miss last week we really talked about how there's this hidden connection between a lot of people's pain and symptoms with our neck and our upper cervical, higher part in our neck being out of alignment. And it was wonderful being able to talk with Dr. Isaac, Dr. Reese about how we, my upper neck issues and how it was linked to, for example, a lot of you with symptoms like POTS, dysautonomia, migraines, right? Brain fog, TMJ, tinnitus ringing in the ear. And it really, people started asking, a lot of dietary and nutrition questions came up on that live. And that's why we said, you know what, this week we're going to talk about food. And people are starting to bring up food items, right? That might be the ingredients in this drink, right? And a lot of people, when we did the topic for this live, right? Alumni 2 hours north of Dr. Maggie. Where are you in Washington, Kristen? Are you in Seattle? All right. So a lot of people think that this live was going to be about eat this, not that. Mm-hmm. Which I am happy to do at some point. However, in my book, 8 Out of the Box Ways to Transform Your Health, which by the way, 7 categories bestseller on Amazon internationally. And if you haven't gotten a copy of the book, there's a link to the book for a ridiculous price that we got Amazon after a month to finally drop the price. So if you want to link to it. But the first medical chapter of the book is called, it talks about why this particular issue, like there's an, like a lot of people think, do this, not that. It's just about the food, right? But there's a chapter that precedes that. And I would say that the first chapter that precedes that is, I call it digestion. It's the first domino. A lot of people think it's just about the ingredients that you bring to the kitchen, right? And I equate it to that, right? Get the best ingredients, but not those ingredients. It's about the food content itself. But I actually put digestion in front of the food that you eat. It's even more important when it comes to pain. And the reason is the equipment in the kitchen matters a ton.
So what you're saying is, yes, the ingredients that might be in the kitchen, the food in the kitchen matters, but the equipment in the kitchen, if you don't have that right, it doesn't matter what kind of food you're putting in.
Bingo. Okay. And so I have found, and here's a hot tip, everybody. It's a hot take and a hot tip. One of the biggest reasons for people having chronic pain, especially that's difficult to treat, and things like neuropathy, for example, nerve pain, is that the digestion is actually broken, which means the equipment in their kitchen is broken. Okay. Now, a lot of the alumni are watching, and they already can think about this, but I'm going to ask you guys in the audience, all right? Tell me what kind of pain you're having. Where are you having pain? Tell me where you're having pain, right? Tell me what you tried for the pain. And is there a clear diagnosis for the pain? All right. First, tell me a little bit about that first thing. And then the other thing is, what have you tried to deal with the pain? Because there's a lot of sometimes easily identifiable causes, like, like for me, I got into a car accident and that created a tear in a disc in my neck. So trauma would be obvious reasons. And for some of that, there's obvious physical interventions that you can do, right? But how many of you have pain that's more, I would say, nebulous? Mm-hmm. How many of you have pain where it's like, it's just burning in my hand, or it's just this kind of gnawing kind of feeling, and the x-rays and the MRIs are all negative. The blood work is all negative. How many of you have, nerve pain, So type it in chat. I would love to hear some of these. Like, for me, I'm really interested in impossible to solve pain cases. The bigger your challenges that has to do with pain, the more I eat it for breakfast. I'm just letting you know. Because for me, that's the toughest piece, is like fibromyalgia, right? Fibromyalgia, a lot of doctors don't even believe it's real. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, all of you with fibromyalgia, including myself, know it's real pain. And in fact, what we find with fibromyalgia is a variety of underlying root causes that are not easily identified by blood tests or imaging. So how many people have diagnoses like that, where it almost feels like your doctors are dismissing you, right? Or that it can't possibly be real.
Anna is kind of somewhat saying that she's got mostly the pain in her hands and her joint, which I can relate. Same thing for me and my wrists as well. She says sometimes other joints. Supposedly I have RA. Uh-huh. Methotrexate for 4 years, but she doesn't even really think she has RA, because maybe they're just lumping that, hey, you have this pain, we're going to call it RA for her. Who knows?
But even RA, there's many sort of different types. And there's even what we call seronegative rheumatoid arthritis, which means all the tests are negative, but we know you got it. Right. So there's so many like autoimmune diagnoses that we don't even have the blood test to diagnose that's causing people pain and symptoms. But the limited 1% of tests that we have for 1% of those targets is negative. So I think it's actually a huge step in medicine that they even acknowledge there's people with rheumatoid arthritis x-ray findings and targets that are testing blood negative, and they call that seronegative rheumatoid arthritis. So does the diagnosis even matter?
Well, does it help you feel better? Here we have Jill. She's been dealing with migraines for 20 years and nothing's worked, and no diagnosable reason. So people are in pain for decades, Maggie, Dr. Maggie.
Yeah.
What do they do?
Well, and before we go into digestion, what I want to do is I want everybody watching this on YouTube. So what I want to do is share the link on YouTube, because we've been limited with our, there's been Facebook changes, and I don't want to mention all the names involved, but they have changed their policy so that we're no longer going to be able to stream live into our Facebook group. There's 100,000 people in it. So all of you guys that are in the Facebook group, we're sharing a link right now from YouTube. I would love for you to click that link and join us on YouTube. And here's the thing, do one more thing for me, okay? If you're enjoying any of our content, click subscribe right now on YouTube and ring that bell to get notified. And that way, every time we schedule a live, you're going to be notified. You won't miss a thing. So I would love everybody who's watching from YouTube right now to type a boom in chat. Let me know. Give me some YouTube love. Let me know you're watching from YouTube. And if you're someone who just hopped over to YouTube and just click subscribe right now, by the way, less than 10% of people watching this right now are subscribers on YouTube, even though they're watching me on YouTube. So help me out. If even like another 5% of you click subscribe, put subscribe in chat that I know you subscribe to the channel. That would be amazing. Thank you for doing that favor for me.
And here, everybody really is listening to that advice, Dr. Maggie, because like I would say like 99% of the people that are joining us right now are coming to us from YouTube. So they have heard the message that that's where they should be.
I'm seeing some new names here. Who's Bigfoot? You guys have some really cool names on YouTube. Like I'm just telling you, there's some funny names you guys have. I love it. I love it. I'm being very entertained by the names coming in. And by the way, every comment you guys write on YouTube or Facebook or in our group, just so you know, I read every one of these comments. So thank you in advance for sharing all this. So Kristen's talking about my only pain is in the SI joint, sacral iliac joint. That's right above the butt cheeks, between your butt and your back is your SI joint, with confirmed diagnosis of ankylosing spondylitis, an autoimmune disease that attack joints. All right. So now, whether it's migraines, whether it's fibromyalgia, whether it's neuropathy, whether it's autoimmune like Kristen, right? I want to let you guys know that digestion is the root cause, at least responsible for 20-30% of your pain. Okay. So we're going to talk about this.
Let me emphasize that. You're not saying 20 to 30% of people have digestion as the root cause. You're saying in everybody with pain, 20 to 30% of their pain is because of poor digestion.
At least.
Okay. A lot of people don't typically think, oh, I've got pain in my, my hands, my joints, my SI. Oh, it's my digestion that's partially to blame. If not,
right. Which is why we're spending some time here. I want you guys to think outside the box about this. And that's why the book is called 8 Out of the Box. All right. So in that chapter, I really detail multiple cases and examples of how a broken step or multiple steps in digestion causes an increase in pain. And for some people, the gut pain is actually real. How many people have pain in their gut? Right. So that's another piece of this.
Well, so my liver feels uncomfortable. Digestion.
There you go, Darlene. Boom, right there, right? How many of you feel like there's like liver pain or pain over here when you eat? How many of you have irritable bowel syndrome that when you eat food, the pain is like that? The pain is actually in your gut. That can happen, right? So how is digestion linked with pain, and why are we thinking differently about it? Okay, so explanation here is that there are multiple steps in digestion, right? From even like the amount of water you're drinking, the amount of times you're chewing your food. Water, right, is part of digestion. Just so you guys know, dilution is digestion. Okay, dilution is digestion. And think about it. How many of you guys are walking around chronically dehydrated, right? Not drinking enough water, not even chewing your food into more little pieces, and diluting the food with water in that first step, right? So what you find is we're chronically running around with dehydration. And dehydration comes from really poor intake of water, hampering the first step in digestion. And those of you who've been following us, and shout out to Sue Hintzman and Melt Method, right? Those of you who've been following us for a long time, who are also melters, right? Know that there's such an importance connection between the fascia. What is fascia? Fascia is the thin layer that's almost like a spider web in thickness between your skin and your muscles and tendons. It's a layer called fascia. And the fascia area actually is chronically dehydrated, meaning that there isn't enough water flowing in and there isn't movement to get it out. So what we find is in the fascia area is really stuck stress, toxins, hormones, inflammation factors, right? So if drinking water and chewing your food, the first step in digestion, is already a problem, how the heck do we get inflammation out of our fascia and out of our body? We can't. So I love the fact that I want you guys to know that even just one step, which is drinking when you're eating, chewing your food properly, is huge, and that it is a huge factor in causing pain.
Well, let's talk What does chewing your food properly look like? Because there's a bunch of people in the chat right now saying, I'm a speed eater. I don't chew. Somebody even said, I didn't even realize you were supposed to chew your rice when you eat. So what's the good advice that you would give to somebody about how much should we be chewing?
Well, Emma Info Dumps, love your name, Emma Info Dumps, says that I only realized in your program that I never chewed my rice when I ate. Laughed my ass off. Oh, LMAO. Sorry. Excuse my French. I'm a fan of the cursey words. All right. So, but I think even in the book, but I always tell a story, which was that, even people in my own family, like I observed somebody in my family where, she's the age of 37, was swallowing rice whole. And when someone else pointed out, hey, you swallow your rice whole without swallowing, she was like, you chew your rice?
But I remember reading that in your book and thinking to myself, oh, you're supposed to chew your rice? Because I do that too, And then oftentimes you see deja vu with the rice. And, Sorry, I should have done that while you were drinking.
But, I almost spit out my magical elixir, which the recipe is coming, by the way.
But yeah, that's my terminology for you see it again in its full form, because it just doesn't digest well, and it because the proof is in the, I would say, pudding, but
oh my god. Well, bringing it in, I'm going to actually bring Kathy on the stage. We finally got Starlink joining us from Canada.
Yeah,
Kathy.
I am flying in from an undisclosed location in the middle of nowhere.
Oh, because you got an echo there.
Internet. Woohoo!
We were just talking about, Kathy, there's a little bit of an echo on you, but you were about to say something.
Can I just say, the one thing that I always say to my clients is, your stomach doesn't have teeth. Your stomach does not have teeth.
That's good. That's really good.
Yeah. Yeah.
It feels like an Audrey 2, though. Feed me. But Audrey 2 swallowed her prey whole. It's a Little Shop of Horrors. For those of you who are a fan of musicals, like I am, I'm a musical geek. You know the reference. All right. All right, Kathy, I'd love for you to quick intro for everybody.
Sure. Yeah. I'm Kathy Ryan, and I'm a registered holistic nutritionist, and I've been working with Dr. Maggie since 2019. And man, I love talking about digestion. I love talking about hormones. I love talking about weight loss. And I was really excited to come on tonight and talk about the relationship between food and pain, because I have my own story about food and pain that absolutely changed my life.
I can't wait to hear about that.
Let's share it, everybody, and then we'll continue with digestion. But Kathy, I'd love for you to share your story about pain, because we have so many, so
yeah,
do tell.
Yeah, so I had chronic neck pain, really, really serious neck pain that was causing me to have to take, Robaxacet and anti-inflammatories. And I thought it was because at the time I was driving for a supplement company and going across the country doing a lot of trainings. And I thought that was the issue. I thought maybe it's because I was driving all day. And then I thought, well, maybe it's because I'm at the computer all day. So I did all the things. I went to the chiropractor. I changed my posture. I got all the right devices and things set up in my office so that I wouldn't have this neck pain. And it continued, and it was getting worse. And I bought those Dr. Ho things from the drugstore.
Are they really called Dr. Ho?
Yes.
I don't want to be called Dr. Ho. I'm just letting you know.
The neck, anyways, there was all kinds of things that I tried, and nothing would work. Nothing. And then I finally started to realize I was trying to look for patterns, because I'm all about the patterns. And I'm like, what is going on? I'm all about the patterns. And I started to realize I was a big fan of popcorn. I loved popcorn. It was my snack of choice. But I wouldn't eat it all the time. But when I ate it, I would eat a lot of it, and I would eat it 2 or 3 days in a row, and then I wouldn't eat it again. And so I started to notice these very similar patterns of extreme pain when I was eating popcorn, a lot of popcorn, and nothing when I wasn't. And so come to do a little bit of food mapping, and we find out that like corn was off the chart for me.
Yeah.
And it's in everything. So even after the popcorn, like it took me a long time to sort of figure out all the little things, but I have zero neck pain now. As long as I stay off corn, I have zero neck pain. I could have spent the rest of my life in debilitating pain if I hadn't figured out that corn, and who knew corn would be the problem.
Well, and you're so astute and you were making that connection, but it can be so hard to connect the dots because sometimes the pain is not immediate after you eat the food, right?
Yeah.
Would it be coming for you like sometimes the next day or even the day after? It's not immediate. So how does one connect this unless you're able to go through something like food mapping?
Yeah. And even for me, because corn is in so many different things, I was like, well, I think it's popcorn, but I'm not sure. And so, I'd go off the popcorn, but then I'd eat something else with corn in it. And I'm like, well, maybe it's not corn. And so I was finally like, okay, I need to actually get some clarity here and some data. And that's when I did that. And yeah, off the charts.
Well, and we had someone who asked the question, Jane had asked, what food will bring down my pain levels?
Yeah.
And so I wanted to actually point out, which is a second topic we're going to jumping into is, should Jane eliminate corn? And will that help with her pain? Because it helped Kathy.
Well, is Jane's body the same as Kathy's body?
Which is why that's the thing is about these lists, right? And before we actually go more into like, should I provide a list of what foods you should eat and shouldn't? And the answer is, I need your data.
Mm-hmm.
I need to base it on data. And while we're talking about data, I just want to say it gave me an idea because there's a lot of individual cases here. How would you guys like to be one-on-one with me troubleshooting this live in a pop-up workshop? Because I would love to get all of you guys in a Zoom and a meeting with me. And I would love to troubleshoot these cases and some of the details of your case live. This was an idea popped up, and next Tuesday, I'm thinking we're going to do like a 4:00, and you got to register. I'm going to put on a link in chat, and I'm going to do a live meeting where you guys can come in, play full out. You could talk to Kathy, myself, Dr. Jason. We're going to be live and troubleshooting individual cases and talking about how we would solve your problems, right? Your cases, because I do think individualized advice based on understanding your situation is really important. And so I would love to invite you guys to my pop-up to end pain. That's going to be live on Tuesday. There's a link that we're dropping right now. You guys can register. Once you register for it, you're going to get a text that's going to email you a text to confirm, and the link to join will be there. I want to meet you guys in person, and I want to work with you guys live to figure out how to end your pain. All right.
Dr. Maggie, this is incredibly generous of you to be giving freely of your time to be troubleshooting one-on-one. If anybody's not realizing what an amazing opportunity this is, they're probably going to want to register for that.
Well, and Jane's talking about, what foods would trigger my pain? And the thing is, I don't want Jane or anyone else to get generalized advice that's personalized to nobody, right? That's not why I'm on here. I am a medical doctor and I'm a scientist, and I developed the food mapping system, and I developed all these steps that, we deal with it with digestion and how to figure that out to make sure that people get personalized advice specifically based on which step where your digestion is broken, right? Mm-hmm. You need to know, right? Which foods is it and which ones is it not? Kathy's example is really interesting. It's really interesting, but it's very we see this repeated every day in our program. For example, in my food mapping masterclass, we have a masterclass going on, a review session going on right now. And in that program, like, this is a really typical example of a case that we just had just a couple of weeks ago where somebody presented where they already knew that they had a problem with anaphylactic reaction to walnuts, and they were told that they were fine with all the other nuts, right? Mm-hmm. And when we actually did the testing, what we found out was through our data was that, yes, they had a problem with walnut, but it was also cashews, right? They didn't realize because they went to the allergist just to get IgE testing, and they thought, because I'm IgE reactive to walnuts, I can eat all the other nuts, which they were told that was true. And it turned out to be also cashews. And I have an example too. I remember Jennifer we worked with, and this is really common where somebody, because they had an autoimmune disease or a celiac, they went gluten-free. Okay. And when they went gluten-free, they noticed that their pain actually got worse. And so this is why elimination diets sometimes can actually make your pain worse. Mm-hmm. So because she's celiac, which she 100% should be off gluten, right? So she went 100% off gluten. Then what happened was she ate more of other things, right? She didn't realize that she was eating a ton of oatmeal. She started to eat a lot of oats. And as a replacement for all the other grains with the wheat, she started to do a lot of oatmeal. She was eating like, lots of oats, overnight oats, this and that. And it turned out that not only did she have a problem with gluten, but what happened was when she stopped the gluten, she ate so much more oat and oat milk that she ended up getting so much pain. But oat milk is healthy, right? Supposedly, right?
Most
So
people, but
she ended up having way more pain. And so she had some data that said for sure she should have been off gluten, but she didn't do the food mapping process where we actually did a specific test and we really ruled out like, oh my gosh, yeah, you're right, you should have been off the gluten. But as a result of eliminating that, going on an elimination diet and not having the data to know what the other food sensitivities are that she had to avoid, she overate other things. This is why sometimes elimination diets work or help for a short period of time, but in the long run, most oftentimes they actually make people worse. Kathy?
And that's exactly what happened to me. I didn't even tell you that part, was that I had gone gluten-free. And so what's in all the gluten-free products as an alternative to the wheat? So many of them have corn, right?
Yeah.
So many of them are corn-based products. And that's exactly what happened to me. I went gluten-free and I thought I should be feeling a heck of a lot better. And so I was feeling better in some areas, like I had lost weight and I did a bunch of other things, but it was this neck pain that I couldn't get rid of.
It's so wild. That's actually wild because a lot of people don't realize that chronic neck pain or migraines can be due to, for her, a corn sensitivity.
Yeah.
But this brings up a really good point, and I talk about it in the book as well. What do you guys think, like in just talking about gluten intolerance, let's say, and I talk a lot about gluten intolerance in the book. Do you guys know what the number one symptom of actual gluten intolerance is? A lot of people think it's actually like diarrhea, gas, or bloating. What do you guys think is the actual number one symptom? Even celiac disease. Do you know what, if celiac disease was diagnosed today, it wouldn't be actually considered a gut illness because the number one symptom that people have celiac disease is actually, do you guys know? Anyone? Drum roll.
We have guesses. Let's see if the guesses are coming in. But based on the topic of this conversation, I have a guess.
It's a pain symptom. I want you guys to know. Thank you. Oh, yes. But specifically, it's a specific type of pain. Headache.
Oh, there we go. Emma has it.
Oh, I love the alumni. I love the alumni here. It's actually really common to have headache as one of the most common symptoms for people with gluten sensitivity or gluten reaction of some type.
Well, and talking about headaches, does brain fog play into this also? Because a lot of people brain fog,
because it's neurological. It actually, the whole reaction towards gluten actually involves brain. So believe it or not, like headache, brain fog, neuropathy, meaning nerve damage, are the top three symptoms of gluten problems with reacting to gluten. Lisa, super smart, right? I love what a smart audience we have. So the fact is, we already have tons of data and research to show you that people with gluten sensitivity and celiac have tons of pain-related issues. And Kathy is here to tell you that her reaction to corn caused her to have this pain in the neck, right? And someone even mentioned like pain on the skin, because that's the other thing is a lot of people with gluten intolerance actually develop skin problems, sometimes specifically painful rashes, sometimes eczema that bleed and crack, right? So it is really real. Donna Slack, you're spot on, right? Is that you could have pain even on the skin as a result of this. And cystic acne hurts. So that's also another pain. Kathy.
And how many people join our food mapping class and we'll get questions like this. This happens all the time where they'll say, well, I've never noticed any food reactions. I've never noticed any food reactions, but I do have rheumatoid arthritis. I do have gout. I do have all these other pain conditions. And it's almost like people only attribute food sensitivity issues to gut issues. And it's never, they don't think, oh, my rheumatoid arthritis might, my pain, my increasing pain and inflammation might be a result of something I'm eating. So it just fascinates me how people will come in with all these food sensitivities that we see in data. And they're like, well, I never react to those foods. That's really interesting because I never react to pistachios when I eat them. And
or
yet you're
thing, right? Right. Because like Jesse's been saying, I don't get headaches. So could I still be having a reaction? Yes. Because that's
yes.
I had food. I had things show up on my food mapping that I didn't realize I could have never correlated were causing me issues. And yet I had autoimmune disease, right? So I knew that things that I was eating were fueling a problem in me, even if it wasn't a headache or something that I could tell was directly connected, much to Kathy's point.
Yeah, I actually have an interesting story around my own reaction to my sensitivity is gluten. And I actually have the gene for genetic gluten intolerance. So for me, it's not just me, but it's my children because genetics, there's a lot of genetics involved in food mapping. So with gluten for me, so I would get urinary tract infections literally 6 to 10 times a year for decades. And I was on antibiotics for those, and I was on preventative antibiotics. And it got so bad to the point where every time I got an infection, the oral antibiotics would no longer work anymore. I would have to go to the emergency room to get IV antibiotics to deal with my urinary tract infections. And when I discovered I had gluten intolerance, completely unintentional, and that was painful, people. I mean, talking about piss and razor blades, okay? It's terrible. Those of us who have urinary tract infections, you're laughing. Like, you're laughing, Kathy. But those of us with urinary tract infections, the moment it hits me, I'm on the ground. I'm like dying. And that's pain like hell. And what I discovered was when I actually did food mapping myself, like was developing the process, I realized the gluten about 2 months after I stopped the gluten, my urinary tract infections completely stopped. Completely stopped. And, it's been 10 years since I've been gluten-free. I think maybe even longer, but I haven't had there's only one other time that I had a urinary tract infection. It was about 6 months after I went gluten-free. And I was told at a restaurant that I had the blackened catfish that was gluten-free the very next day. I got very depressed and I got a urinary tract infection, called the restaurant back, had them read me the label on their blackening spice and had flour in it.
Oh.
Right. So this really can show up in many different ways. And in pain of a variety source, pain from a urinary tract infection, you don't want that, my friends. Right?
Razor blades? No, thank you.
Just some razor blades, I call it.
Painful.
You love my
that expression.
piss and razor blades?
I've never heard that. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, there you go. So food sensitivity has a lot to do with pain, a lot. And I'm going to ask people in the alumni group or people who've been through my food mapping masterclass to talk about what has been your experience. And don't take it from me, right? Take it from people who've actually had gone through this process. I had to develop this food mapping process that addressed the digestion and the food sensitivities and educate you guys about every single step of this with your own results to get people results, right? This is like cutting the line and getting those results like now, not 10 years, 10 elimination diets later. So I'd love some of the alumni to share of any of these programs that have done food mapping process with us. What has improved for you as a result? What was that process like? Share it in chat because proof is important. The other thing is I also have a giant playlist on YouTube all about food mapping. I also have a playlist on YouTube all around pain, every kind of pain you can imagine and how to end it. If you want to find those resources, is right on YouTube. You could also put a comment in chat right now that you want those playlists, and we can we can share links to those playlists as well. And on top of that, we were talking about the green elixir. We're just talking about the green elixir.
Which is it's going quickly. You must have a hole in that cup because it's almost done.
In the chugger. Go ahead, Kathy. You're about to say something.
Oh no, I was just laughing at you and your big bottle of green juice.
In my goblet.
In your goblet, yes. I'll need to get myself a goblet so that I can fit in next time.
Yeah. So Emma says fibro alumni here. Emma didn't just have fibro; she had POTS. Headaches are gone. Headaches are gone. Who wants their headaches gone, right? Knee pain rarely goes above 2 out of 3, and it was 10 before. And I think, and some of you guys saw our interview with Emma about a month ago. She was walking at 23 years old, walking with a cane because her pain was so bad, as well as her dizziness from her POTS. And Emma just shared that she was driving at night for the first time in years just the other day. Thank you. I mean, so yeah, these are real results and real outcomes, right? So for those of you who are interested in learning more about food mapping, the process, I could also share a link for you to book a chat with our team to talk to us more about it. But we'll also share a link to our, there's a whole training around food mapping and multiple case studies. There's information about food mapping we can share in chat. Right.
If I can share a couple more comments, Paula said she had a gluten sensitivity and now no more headaches.
Boom. Oh, Paula, I miss you. I worked with Paula 5 years ago. Miss Paula.
It's incredible that then Dr. Maggie will remember every detail about Paula. Most likely, she does this with everybody. It's unbelievable. Mary says, "Go ahead."
I didn't remember Paula.
Okay, you guys.
Yes.
Paula G, you know who she is.
Paula's
Yeah.
memorable. But the point is, it seems like everybody you work with is memorable to you. Really, because they made an impact on your life in some way that you remember the details of what's going on with them. And I think that that really says something about both of you to be able to make that connection with the people that you're working with.
Well, here's the thing.
I have
Go
a
ahead,
question
Catherine.
for Miriam, actually, because I was just going to make a comment about, I would love to know from Miriam if she could put how long she was suffering from joint pain, because we have people come in that have been suffering from joint pain and these horrible
Yeah.
pain conditions and headaches and things like that for years, if not decades.
Yeah.
And within 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 5 weeks, like
Weeks.
there
Mhm.
is a complete
Weeks.
turnaround. And I just want to grab every single person with chronic pain and say, you need to see the connection between your chronic pain and your food, because this is so fixable. You don't have to live the rest of your life in pain, no matter what you've been told. If we can find the food trigger for you, it can turn around that fast. And we see it all the time. It's not an uncommon thing.
So this is really interesting, Kathy, because it brings up the story of, do you want to get better in 2 years or 2 months? like it's so unbelievable to people that like their chronic pain for 10 years could be dramatically reduced 50%, 80%.
By 24 years. 24 years.
Miriam.
I'm saying when Kathy asked the question, the pain has been going on for 24 years prior.
Wow.
Weeks.
2 weeks it took her to get pain free.
Damn, hot diggity damn.
That's incredible.
But here's the thing, like people are like, I have an incredible memory, or how do we remember all this? I worked with Paula, has it been 5 years, Paula? Type in chat, because I think it feels like, no, 3 years, 4 years. I think we did do also an interview, Paula. But here's the thing, like you may not remember everything that I teach you, or I may not remember, like I'm not good with numbers and birth dates, but I never forget the way people make me feel. And so like, I remember like all these stories because I remember how people felt. I remember how bad or in despair they were when they started. And I remember seeing like 2 or 3 weeks later, how happy they like, how good they feel. And so I never forget how people made me feel. And so this is how I remember people, is I remember how they made me feel.
Well, Dr. Maggie, I'm sure no one could ever forget how you've made them feel in return, because we're hearing story after story. And I know it firsthand because I get to talk to the people who graduate your program of how you've changed their life. You've given them their lives back. So it goes both ways. Clearly, you're giving and you're receiving from those that you work with, people who you want to work with, because these are people that are giving you life just as you're giving them life.
And that's why for me, I want to, if I'm going to be helping you end your pain, everyone, whoever, and everyone out there, I want to know the level of detail with which I know, feel, and our team does with some of the details around all the medical issues. It's really important. It's really important. The details really matter. And I really think that people need to be seen, heard, and also be able to allow us to be able to intervene to bring new perspective. I need people to actually change, like be able to express, be heard, but also be able to change and shift their stories or their point of view around it. Right. Mm-hmm. So I love the fact that when you look at some of these individuals with these amazing results, they allowed us to shift them. Mm-hmm. They allowed us to shift them, grow, and to make different ways of thinking about food, even just food, right? I mean, we teach so much about so many things. So, digestion, thinking about even just digestion, right? something as simple as you guys listening to me discuss why digestion matters. If all you got today was, you know what, I'm just going to go ahead and here are the action steps, right? I'm just going to go ahead and buy Digested, a
Mhm.
digestive enzyme that covers every step of digestion because I don't know what step is broken.
Yeah.
I haven't gotten help to figure out which step is broken, but I want every step covered and fixed. Just take Digested. One with small meals, two with big meals, right? And that's part of our pain protocol. So I have a supplement protocol recommendation. If you're like, I just want to get the list of things I could take to try to help with this pain, we have a pain protocol. Put pain protocol in chat. Happy to share it with you. Um, it can be sometimes as simple as taking the action of taking a digestive enzyme that covers every single step. And so, but what I think is for me, I want to really invite you guys to join me on the pop up on Tuesday because I want to meet you guys. I want to meet every single one of you that are struggling with pain. I want to meet you and see you on Tuesday. I want to work with you guys live in a workshop. I want to hear from you. I want to be able to troubleshoot some of these issues one on one so we get personalized answers and advice based on your data, meaning that your symptoms and your history are data points, people, along with the food mapping data that we do. Right? How would you like someone to take a 360 approach of all your pieces of data to come up with a solution here? Right? I love to do that. So I see patterns where people see chaos. So I'd love to see you guys on Tuesday for the pop up to end pain. And there's a link to register for that.
I love it. There's our friend Jane, by the way. Jane's interview is just now starting to post.
It just posted earlier this week with Sjogren's.
Yeah. She has an incredible interview that you guys should check out, but she was generous in talking to me with her time. And yeah, she's been in pain for 40 years, had a mounting list of issues, including cancer. She was on oxygen, everything. And yeah, pain is now gone after going through the program. Gone.
She said gluten-free for a week and it was gone. That's the key thing. Can one food item that you have a sensitivity to in 1 week, removal of it, get your pain gone after 40 years? The answer is yes, yes, and hell yes. In Miriam's case, 24 years of a headache. Within 2 weeks, it was gone, right? It can be that easy. It's not simple, but it can be easy when you have the right data.
Agnes posted as well, 12 years, and her pain majorly reduced within 4 months. Yeah. Amazing. Amazing. I just love these people.
So one of the things I want to address here is, and we're taking time intentionally. I want to spend time with you. Like, hey friends, let's chat. Okay. Do elimination diets work for pain? Let's answer that question because I saw that coming up on YouTube. Somebody had asked, do elimination diets help the pain? And we had talked about how some people, like example, carnivore diet. Let's talk about carnivore diet. A lot of people are talking about the latest, which is carnivore diet. And some people really claim that the carnivore diet has really helped them with their pain. And I want to ask you guys that question as well. How many of you have that question, right? Can the carnivore diet help me with my pain? Jill thinks hell no, but there really are people where it's really helped them with their pain. And I would love Kathy's hot take on this, and I would love, and I will share my hot take. How many people out there has been on the carnivore diet and it's helped with their pain? How many people tried it and didn't help with their pain? How many people made it worse? I would love, and it doesn't have to be the carnivore diet. If it's another elimination diet, whether it's the AIP diet, FODMAPs diet, feel free. I would love for you to share with me which special diet you went on and what the heck happened with that.
I'm trying to think of who we had a client recently. Yep. I can't remember his name, but he was on the carnivore diet and he actually got worse. And when we got his food mapping, beef was like way up there.
It was insane. We know who it is. I know who it is.
Yeah.
His name starts with the letter P. Yeah. And that was the thing was, you know, like, and beef. So carnivore diet would not work for you if you had a problem with beef and you had no idea. That person's going to get way worse. And yet their friend next to them is going to be like, I did the carnivore diet and I'm totally better. Right? Now, why does it work for some people? Marissa thinks, I think yes, but I think it's a mask. Well, there's a couple of reasons why I do think it can work for some people. And the reason is because it is a form of an extreme elimination diet. And if you eliminate a lot of food, sometimes you can guess right that some of those foods are part of the problem, right? And the carnivore diet is so restricted to animal protein only that you've eliminated 98% of other food on the planet. So it is possible that in that type of elimination diet, in the short term, you did eliminate some of those food sensitivities. But do you think it's healthy to eat 2% of the food on the planet with diversity in your diet and eliminate the other 98% of food, nutrients, phytonutrients from all of the rest of the diet on the planet? Like, let's just think about that.
And that's Jill's
Right?
so smart. She just said that. She said, but then you see people who end up with nutrient deficiencies.
Severe nutrient deficiencies. That's the issue, right? Go ahead.
There's another point to this. When someone has, you may not have an issue with beef or any animal products in terms of a food issue. However, if your digestion is crap and you don't have any stomach acid, what's going to happen? Meat is one of the most difficult things to digest. You need a lot of stomach acid to properly digest your meat.
Yeah.
And the whole idea with digestion, right, is to get them down to smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller pieces.
Right.
And so if you're not doing that properly, you're going to end up with increased inflammation.
You're going to putrefy in your stomach.
Mm.
That's terrible.
Well, and this reminds me of Leah. You guys remember Leah from Italy? We had a client we worked with from Italy, and she went on the carnivore diet for like, I think 2 years, and was getting worse and worse POTS-like symptoms and pain, really severe pain. And it turned out, I don't even remember if she actually had she did. Oh, she had 2 problems. Here was the double whammy. Number one, she had like next to no stomach acid and had trouble digesting fat. So she couldn't digest the meat. And she said she was always full all the time. And it was like, felt like she was like 6 or 8 months. If Leah, if you're watching from Italy, I'm talking about you. But she was like saying, she was like, so it was always food was stuck here all the time. So we didn't realize whether it was either a digestion problem. When she started the program, she was like, I don't know if it's a digestion problem or a food sensitivity problem. It turned out it was both. So it was so like, you could say funny, like it's horrifying and funny and relief at the same time. And I saw it all cross her face at the same time. And she's like, Dr. Maggie, all I ate was beef. Do you know the area I live in? It's all beef. Like it was literally, she just ate beef. Like not even carnivore as in diversification of the protein source. It was all beef. And it was so interesting that through doing the food mapping process, we fixed her digestion. We spent a lot of time actually fixing her digestion. And then we discovered it was beef. And the thing is, I didn't ask her, she doesn't have to stop all meat. It was just beef. Like she actually was like, oh, there's actually a lot of goats in this area. Based on testing results, she was delighted that she could eat lamb or goat or chicken. Lots of chickens here in this. And so she was able to eat a lot of the other meat. And the thing is that she diversified her diet by eating a lot of other types of meat. And she was able to tolerate all these fruits and vegetables. And her pain and her POTS got so much better. She was doing jumping jacks and making a video of it. She did a dancing video, Gangnam style. That's right. And I tried to mock it. I could not mock it. But anyway, she was showing how her balance and her pain was so much better that she was able to dance on a video within a couple weeks of understanding the digestive issues and the inflammatory issues that beef specifically had on her diet. That's Leah's story.
Yeah.
Amazing. It's amazing. People are sharing their stories too about how they would never have guessed the one ingredient that showed up for them. Sometimes it's just one thing. Sometimes it's a handful of things. But a lot of people go into this testing too and wonder, is everything going to show up? Am I going to have to give up these foods?
I love this question. And Kathy's here. She reviews results. She's on part of our medical team that works with everyone on food mapping. And here's the thing. Everyone thinks, and some people think this, right? Everyone thinks that, oh, if I go through the food mapping process, I'm going to find out that I'm going to be sensitive to all these foods and I'm going to have to eliminate so much more. And newsflash, we have to think about this in a upside down way, okay? I'm going to tell you, I have a guess of the percentage, but I'm going to ask Kathy, what percentage of people do you think is eliminating more foods versus adding a shit ton more food back in?
Oh, yeah. No, this is about food freedom. This is about adding foods back in. 100%. Like the amount of people that we take from, Cindy is a great example. The amount
Think of it as the opposite. They're like, I don't want to get data where I'm going to have to eliminate so much more. And it's the opposite. It's the data frees you to actually add a ton back in. Does that
And
make sense?
speaking logistically about the food mapping test, because we've had several people mention things like, well, how is it different than hair follicle testing?
Yeah.
We had somebody else ask, they're having a hard time because you use blood test, and you can speak to the reasons why, but he said they're having a hard time getting, and he mentioned this several times, so I just want to make sure his comment gets highlighted, can't get the blood sample from his daughter's finger very well. I know there's workarounds in this, because when I was going through the program, somebody else was dealing with that, and they actually went and just got their blood drawn and used a vial of blood. So that might be an option for.
Yeah. So like Mr. Bigfoot, I assume, or Miss Bigfoot. What do I assume Bigfoot is a Mr.?
Elena's dad.
So interestingly is that there's multiple ways. So I actually did a whole training around what is the difference between food sensitivity testing versus food mapping system, right? So food mapping for us is not just about a test. Like you guys in this hour have heard me talk about all the other pieces that go into this, right? And people with digestion problems can show a lot of physical symptoms reacting to food when it's not even a food allergy. And how do you actually dissect the two and get clear, actionable data and outcomes, right? So that's the whole food mapping system and my food mapping masterclass. And anybody around the world can do the program with us, and we can send test kits all around the world, just so you guys know. So we have lots of people in our food mapping masterclass that's from like Australia, Canada, seriously, England, Portugal. So FYI, just wanted you to know that. And someone said hair testing. Please never, ever do a hair test for food sensitivity. Okay, I'm just letting you know that right now. And I go through that in a lot of detail in some of these other videos. I'm going to be really honest with you guys, okay? And I have kissed a lot of frogs. I've tested different types of food sensitivity testing in at least 60 companies over the last, 27 years of my career. And I will be very frank with you guys that at least 99% of them suck.
It's a pretty high percentage, and they're not cheap.
They're not cheap. The most common test that you get in a doctor's office, I'm not even going to talk about the name of the test, cost over $1,000 to $2,000 to do.
And the results are worthless?
It's worthless. So that's the thing is, it's like the problem is that, you have people selling their tests or selling their, and there's a lot of insurance hoax going on with it as well that I'm not going to get into. But I'm telling you right now is that I had to kiss a lot of frogs, do a lot of tests. I mean, different companies. And I came to realize was that the antigen source and how the technology they use to test the food sensitivities is really not reliable and not reproducible and not accurate. So people would spend hundreds or thousands of dollars to do the test, only to find out that when they removed it, they didn't feel better, or it said 99% of their stuff had to be avoided. That can't possibly be real. Okay. And so not only was it expensive to do the test, expensive to eliminate so much food based on erroneous data, but they didn't get better. And when they reintroduced and threw the food back in, nothing changed. So, I'm done with that, right? I'm not here to waste people's time, money, or energy, or play with your emotions with non-truths or half-truths, right? People are suffering and people need science, intelligence, and guidance so that they get the results that are reproducible, reliable, and, absolutely makes a difference in their symptoms. So for me, no way on the hair test. It's a no. Okay. And then when someone say blood versus blood spot and all that, is that, yes, our testing that we do is, and based on my experience, I eliminated 99% of the testing companies. And we've been using the tests we've been using for the last decade. And I've worked very closely to also make sure that there are key things on this test that helps me really clarify for people the absolute truth. So believe it or not, even the best test on the planet requires discernment and training to understand, oh, that result would be real if this other number is high or that. Like, there's so many intricacies that we teach when we go with the food mapping that people are like, the company itself doesn't know, and the providers who have ordered this test doesn't know. So they're giving people wrong results also, even with the right test. So there's a lot of little tricks and pattern in it that over the last 27 years I had to figure out. And it could be different in the age group. Looking at the age group of the person, sometimes the ethnic background, sometimes the genetics of a person impacts whether that result is what we call real or a false positive or a false negative. So a lot of intricacies go into this. Now, in my food mapping masterclass, we send out a test kit. Typically, is a blood spot where you prick the finger and you can drop blood into it. But if someone lets us know in advance that they cannot and they're unable to get that blood sample, we also can ship out a test kit that's a tube of blood. And there's actually many ways with which you can get a local phlebotomy, like you can bring it to you can lab. There's even local phlebotomy services where you can go to your doctor's office and ask if they're willing to draw the blood and just give you the tube blood to send in, or you can hire a phlebotomy service to draw your blood. But I have, in my career, I've only had, that we ship these kits all over the world. I've only had maybe one person out of that time who couldn't get enough blood to require somebody to draw some blood. But if you needed to, there are ways around that. So you absolutely, Mr. or Miss Bigfoot, you can do that with our program. We can send out a specific kit that uses a tube of blood, and you can actually draw a phlebotomist near me that you can have someone come to your home and draw some blood, and then you can send it in for us.
But this is what I love about you working with this program and working with all of your clients as well, Dr. Maggie, is there's always a way. There's always a way. It doesn't matter where you're located in the world or what your circumstances are. You always find a way to make it work so that people can start to feel better, because that's really what it's all about.
I'm relentless. I'm relentless. You know how there's white on rice? I'm going to be on you like white on rice. Since we're talking about rice, I relentlessly will search for what is the truth, what is the solution, I am relentless. And so I don't stop. And people I've had people work with me, and I mean, all the clients that we've worked with, I will continuously troubleshoot and think outside the box to come to what is really going on. Right.
Love it.
I want to say to Mr. Bigfoot that I'm so glad that you're bringing your child's results to Dr. Maggie. Yeah. She is honestly the only one that I would trust with a child's results, because there's nuance with a child's results. Yeah. And if you go to somebody else, they're going to give you wrong information, and that child is not going to be able to eat anything. So it's really, I'm just very thankful that you've chosen to work with Dr. Maggie on that, because honestly, I just wouldn't trust anybody else.
Well, so here's the thing is, I don't think people realize how much we work with kids. Mm-hmm. And how big of it. And, we work with kids with PANS, PANDAS, autism spectrum, sensory processing, eczema, juvenile rheumatoid arthritis, you name it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Tons, right? And we work with so many parents dealing with their kids with this. And the issue is that you absolutely want to work with a team that understands how to interpret results differently in children from a functional lab standpoint than adults. And particularly in dealing with kids with food sensitivities, kids with immune issues going on, it is literally a minefield going through their food test for the unexperienced eye. And what I find is kids also with autism spectrum or sensory processing or ADD have a lot of food reactions, meaning like sensory issues where they don't like the texture of this or that. So it's really actually is so hard for me when I see over and over again kids and parents being told the wrong information already, with kids with a lot of sensory issues and food aversions, being told to eliminate 60, 70%, 90% of a kid's diet.
So hard.
Right? Mm-hmm. It's ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. And Kimberly, you're going to be talking with us. I'm excited. I am so excited. So here's the thing, everybody. I want to end your pain. You want to end your pain. And let's be done with this stuff, right? I don't want to spend another minute suffering with pain, right? I've lived with chronic pain my whole life, and I've dealt with chronic pain patients. my whole life, and I have solved these problems for me and others my whole life. So I think it's really important to understand that the quality of our lives really matter, and cutting through the chase and finding out the real cause of the problem is so critical. And I really want to today on today's live go away from, hey, everybody, let's give you general advice of what to eat and what not to eat based nothing on your data. All right. So I'm going to base it completely on learning more about you guys and learning more about working with you guys directly and using your data to do that. If that interests you, I want you to book a chat with our team. We're going to have a number here to talk to a member of our team to get, just so we know more of what's going on, to see if it's something we can help with. Book a chat with us. We would love to talk to you and learn more about what's going on. I can't help you if I don't know more about what's going on, because your symptoms and your story are data points. So give me some data to work with. Help us out, right? And then number 2, let's do this as a group for fun on Tuesday. If you guys like this, let's see you on Tuesday in a small group setting where I can troubleshoot more individually if you guys one-on-one. We're going to be doing a workshop. It's called Pop-Up to End Pain. There's a link, register to join, and we're going to be sending you via text after that a link to join the virtual workshop where I'm going to be able to see you guys and interact with you guys directly, so I can understand what's going on in your situation, your pain, and I can troubleshoot, and we can all learn together how to solve these problems that seem impossible but really aren't. Kathy?
Yeah, I can't think of a better way to spend a Tuesday evening.
I roped her into it.
Honestly though, I mean, we still might be, coming in from an undisclosed location in the middle of nowhere, but I'll be there. I'll be there.
I love it. And so a couple things. I am going to tell you guys what is in this.
Okay, give us the full list. And by the way, several people have asked 4 p.m. Tuesday Pacific time. That's Pacific time.
Pacific time. All right. But if you click the link, all the information's on there. And then if you register, all the information will be emailed and texted to you. So get in. I want to see you. I want to see you. I want you.
And that's 7 p.m. Eastern time, which is God's time. Okay.
Oh.
Just
okay.
so we know.
Okay, thank you for that. Okay, and Maggie, before we end this, we need you to chug the rest of this drink because you're at the end here. Okay, chug. And now we need to hear. So you already said, I love my greens and matcha. What else?
1 scoop.
Sir?
I actually did 2 scoops of Love My Greens in here because I felt like I need more greens. So Love My Greens, guys, the ingredients of that is just insane. I'll put the link in it's in our medical foods collection. It is so freaking delicious. So I take the ingredients in it are insane. Specifically, like there is the amount of spirulina and chlorella I put in this formula is crazy for detox. It's crazy for detox. And the other thing is, it's not just greens. I should have said love my rainbow because it has the reds, the blues, and some and the yellows and the reds, and some of the colors of the phytonutrients in here are so anti-inflammatory and so detoxifying. So today I felt like I needed 2 scoops. You can adjust, but what I do is 1 scoop of the Love My Greens right in there, about 1 teaspoon of the matcha. If you don't like matcha, you can use half a teaspoon or just skip it, right? But I love the matcha because the green tea extract in there is so amazing as an anti-inflammatory, blood sugar balancing, hormone balancing. So I take a teaspoon of organic matcha and put it in there as well. So Love My Greens, 1 teaspoon of organic matcha powder. And what I do is I do half to 1 scoop of collagen, pro collagen WB. Now, brand matters, okay, on this one, because when you're looking at collagen, the kinds of collagen in there and the way that it actually gets absorbed, it's incredibly easily digested, and it coats and soothes your gut and helps with leaky gut and the absorption of it. And the way that collagen actually then goes and incorporates into your muscles, to your bones, it's really anti-inflammatory. So I love the idea of adding a teaspoon of, not 1 scoop, half to 1 scoop of the Pro Collagen WB. Then what I do is I put in about I put in about 14 ounces of, I did have 8 because I did a lot of ice. So I did 8 ounces of water, a whole bunch of ice. And then what else did I do in there? Oh, I put splash of almond milk in there. But you could also do, I mean, if you want another milk, you want coconut cream in there, you could do that. You have like coconut milk, you put that in there. I literally used a cocktail shaker and I put it on top. I was like Miss Cocktails when I was having fun with my elixir, and I poured it right in, and I just drank it straight out of a super large red goblet wine glass. Because did you know you can fit a whole bottle of wine in here? Why not put a whole giant Dr. Maggie's elixir, anti-pain elixir straight in here?
Who says, ask me how I know you can fit a whole bottle of wine in here.
That's how I know you can fit a whole bottle of wine in here. but anyway, you could use that. You could use a you could put in it in a blender if you want it, like basically like a smoothie. You could put it into a blender and do that way. I just didn't want to turn the blender on, so I just used a shaker and I did it. So a smoothie shaker bottle will also work as well. You can just put it onto a smoothie shaker bottle, shake it up. I really like, I think one of these in the afternoon, crazy amazing.
Great for balancing your blood sugar too in between meals.
Yeah.
And what I love about what you did with it too is you said you had at least 8 ounces of water in it. Sometimes you put more water in it even.
And the ice melts.
Yeah, and you need that dilution, as you talked about anyway, throughout your day. So you're really getting a lot of goodness in your elixir.
So we put the recipe. I had my team write down that recipe and put it into chat. So if you want that, Love Migraines and Pro Collagen WB is part of our medical food collection. You want to check that out. But this was my stiff drink I had to have. Kathy, you missed it at the beginning of this training. I was like, I'm here. I walked in. Literally walked in. I said to Anna, I was like, I need a stiff drink.
What is she having? Something on the rocks? Yeah. She's
Woo, what's that? And I'm like, wouldn't you like to know? All right, everybody. That is a wrap. I would love to see every single one of you. Number one, subscribe to our YouTube channel and click the bell to get notified. So you know every time I go live, because we want to chat with you, friends. And then number two is register to join the pop-up to end pain if this topic really interests you and I want to meet you guys and work with you guys directly. It's free. It's a workshop that we're going to have on Tuesday evening. So there's a link here to join the pop-up to end pain. I'd love to see every one of you guys there. That's a wrap for me.
Okay. Thank you so much for this connection between food and pain, Dr. Maggie, and looking at it from a whole new way. Thank you for your time.
Good night, everyone.